Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? Mike and Joe here. It has been, I feel like quite some time since we've really um gotten back and done a pod together. But we feel it's only right. Our team is in the finals officially. We've been waiting on this day since 2022. Um, I mean, Joe, I guess the first thing I'll ask you is, I know you probably want to discuss the conference finals games, but I mean, how are you feeling? Like this is your first I feel like real year of being invested into the NBA more and your team is in the finals. So that's got to be a pretty cool feeling, no?
Oh, it's awesome. No, I love it. And I'll tell you what, it would have been crazy if it was the Celtics and the Timbies, because you know how I've had all of Minnesota sports back the last ever since we met. I've always been like, yo, I want Minnesota to actually do some shit because I feel bad for everyone in that market. They made the conference finals. There's a really bright future in Minnesota for I would say at least two out of their four teams. They just signed Jefferson to a huge contract today. The Timberwolves obviously looking great. I don't give enough of a shit to know anything about the Twins. In the Wild, we'll see. But
I'm a
yeah,
I'm
no,
a,
I
I'm a
mean,
I'm gonna probably say some things about the Timberwolves in this episode today that you may not like, but it's not more so about the Timberwolves. It's more so about how the media portrayed them, and it's gonna act like they didn't portray them that way. But we can get to that later. I mean, you tell me where you want to start.
what was I gonna say? I thought we would start not only with the conference finals, but also just a brief kind of like what we did when another team got eliminated before, where it's like go over the free agents, what we think they might do this offseason. So I thought we might start there because obviously we're gonna want to segue into the finals, which is what we're here to discuss. But might as well have some honorable mention finalists here. Starting with the Indiana Pacers. I think to say the Pacers overperformed this season slash postseason would be an understatement. Not that anyone gives a damn about the in-season tournament, but they were in the conference finals for both the in-season tournament and playoffs, and obviously it didn't end the way they wanted it to. Especially, I mean, I feel like everyone knew that they weren't getting past the Celtics. Even I, without saying it, because I was trying to be like, yeah, you never know. They weren't beating the Celtics. I don't think anyone. Well, okay, let me say this. I think the Pacers were hoping they wouldn't get swept. I hope they were like, I'd like to see an entertaining series here. They weren't able to provide that. So unfortunately, what everyone's going to remember, at least for a little bit here, is that the Pacers got swept by the Celtics, and they're not going to remember the great season that they had and postseason, despite getting pretty lucky in terms of injuries and how the conditions of those other teams were. I think it was a great year for Halliburton. I think he had a lot of growing this year, and now that they have I mean, all it takes is 1 year to go to the conference finals, and you have that playoff experience that is so much more valuable. That way, if the Pacers make the playoffs next year, and let's say the Raptors surprise us, right? Let's say the Raptors bring up some young players, and all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. They're a higher seed than the Pacers. We're taking the Pacers because of the playoff experience. So that's something that's invaluable. Definitely need to focus on. And this was a year of success for Indiana. I just wanted to briefly go over free agents. Pascal Siakam. I think they gotta re-sign Siakam. I think they'd be fools not to at the very least explore that. Obviously, money is money, and I'm not gonna go too I don't really care enough to go too far into whether or not they can afford him, but to not throw out the question would be ridiculous. Obi Toppin is also expiring. I don't think they need to re-sign Toppin. He was a good piece, but I don't think they need to re-sign him. Other than that, I would keep the team together. Miles Turner obviously was a great center for them, not only providing what centers do, but also was very, very efficient from three throughout the playoffs. Halliburton and Neesmith and Nemhard both came into their own. I feel especially this year. I never really heard of either of those frigging guys before this, other than just the fact that Neesmith is on the Celtics. Um, but I think you run back what you can with this group, and maybe just bring in a little more veteran presence, and you should be all set. Like an Al Horford on this team maybe like 3 years ago, so not that old, but that kind of guy would be excellent for a roster like this.
Yeah. Couple things, right? I agree with you. I think I'm just kind of looking at it from more of a negative aspect. Because there's been a lot of cases over the years of Eastern Conference teams who have, overachieved and went to the conference finals, and you've kind of looked at it like, wow, okay, like now they really, is it going to be their conference now? And again, I don't think you're obviously not saying that. Nobody's saying that the East is going to be the Pacers conference now, but I do think there is this sort of feeling for me, at least, that they've peaked. And so, like, I guess the thing that worries me is, first of all, what I do want to say is, I'm not surprised the Celtics swept the Pacers, but they definitely, I think I texted you after game 3, they earned a lot of respect from me. Mostly they earned respect from me when Halliburton wasn't playing, because it was like, look, the Celtics have had an easy path, but let's be very clear. Like, that Pacers team hitting their stride they were a good team. Like, they were there for a reason. I don't care what anybody says, and even me. But like, my fear for them is, like, I feel like they've already hit their ceiling. So, like, next year, like, they could easily, if everybody in the East is healthy, they could easily lose in round 1 or round 2. And all of a sudden, this gets looked at as like a 21 Hawks Eastern Conference final situation. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah.
and I honestly don't want that for this team, because I specifically the last 2 games and watching them play, I kind of really grew to like these guys, and I really hope that they have some good careers. But like you said, the thing with Siakam, like, Siakam's gonna, he played so well, he's got to get paid this summer, so it's like, do the Pacers wanna pay him that much? I think they should, but if not, like, I'm pretty interested to see where he would go, because I do think that there are some teams out there that, if they added him, would be like serious threats.
Right.
So
Well, he was making 37 million this year, which the Pacers were able to contain. I feel like if you're losing Doug McDermott's 13 million and Obi
yeah,
Toppin's 6 million, I feel like you resign him.
true, but the problem is, like, there might be a really shitty team that might offer him like a max contract or something. So
Right.
then it's like, what do you do? You know what I mean? So, but anyways, yeah, I mean, congrats to the Pacers on a really good season. I just think, unfortunately, that, like, this is kind of like they've plateaued in a way, because I mean,
They
we
could be
look at
setting themselves up for disaster. Yeah.
exactly, because it's like, next year, if the Sixers are healthy, if the Bucks are healthy, the Knicks, I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't see them being in the top 4 next year if every team stays healthy. Obviously, anything could change, but I just don't really see
Right.
that. But yeah, I mean, shouts to them on a great season, man. Seriously.
All right. And do you want to start the Timbies and just Timbies, I guess. Actually, let me just cover real quick. Um, yeah, they're out of like the people whose names I know on this list. The only one who isn't signed through next year is Monte Morris, and I don't think anyone's jumping to re-sign him. So probably gonna run it back with the same squad. If you're the Timberwolves, I don't see anyone there really getting moved. So what say you?
So it's interesting with the Timberwolves, right? Like, I feel like I was saying all year that I feel like they still weren't there yet. And then I feel like I kind of started to jump on the bandwagon along with everyone else. And, everybody, like, it's so funny how, like, the whole media acted like the Timberwolves, like Anthony Edwards had became like Jordan, and like all of a sudden was the face of the entire league when he never was before. And like,
Mm.
it was just like, okay, they beat the Denver Nuggets, so they're gonna win it all. Now, I still had the Mavericks winning. I predicted the Mavericks to go to the finals, but I was kind of falling under that train of like, oh wow, like maybe the Timberwolves got here a little earlier than I thought. But I think that there was, I mean, we said it even last year, like, they played the Nuggets well. Certain teams, they can match up well with, and they're the team in the West that's able to match up well with the Nuggets. And I don't think that I think that they're going to be a competing team for years to come. but I still don't think that. Like, I think next year, if they face the Nuggets in the playoffs, I think the Nuggets are going to beat them. I'll tell you what. I think Anthony Edwards is going to get better this offseason. And he's really going to arrive into like superstardom. But I after watching them in this Dallas series, they're still a long lengths away from being like a championship team. And I think a lot of us might have just been blinded by the fact of what we saw because when you beat the defending champions like that, and especially at a time where like, and I think you would agree with this, like most people were pretty adamant on like, I don't know who could beat Denver. You know what I mean? Like who the hell could beat Denver? Like we were ecstatic when Denver lost because we were like, we got a shot now. So like I think that was just kind of like maybe Denver was a little less Teflon than we thought. But I don't know. I mean, I really don't know where they go. Hell of a season though. Like, I mean, Anthony Edwards, this is the biggest season of his life so far. Like Karl Anthony Towns did great adjusting to his role. Rudy Gobert proved that like that trade was worth it. So I think that they proved a lot of good things. It's just so weird that they had this like we're here moment and then lost the way they lost in the Western Conference Finals. Like it was just so weird to me. I've never seen anything like that. So like I don't know. I honestly don't know where the Timberwolves go next year. I think they could either go up or go down, like or just stay the same. Like I really couldn't tell you. So
Yeah, what was I gonna say? I think they're going to be a lot better in the regular season next year. I think because they were up there with the Thunder and the Nuggets this year. I think that because you're right in saying that Edwards is going to be better next year. He is not in his prime yet, not nearly. He's working his way there. I feel like, and that's interesting that you say the Nuggets will probably beat him next year. Jokic is in his prime, and Edwards isn't, and Edwards is going to get closer. And I don't want to say Jokic is getting further, but we saw that this year. So obviously it went to 7. Any series that goes to 7 is a toss up at the end of it because game sevens are game sevens. So, but I wouldn't be so confident as to say it right after that happened. I think it'll be between the Timbies and the Nuggets, barring some crazy ass trades this offseason. In terms of who will win the East, I'm sorry, the West next year. But I think both teams honestly will do better than they did this year by at least like let's say like a margin of like 5 wins.
I
But
just
no,
think
I
real
think the
quick.
future is bright in Minnesota. I think even if they because their height, how tall this friggin' team is, not a lot of teams have that, and they don't need all of it. So even if they wanted to move one of their taller play, even if they wanted to move Rudy Gobert, like the return he would bring a
Real quick,
huge return.
real quick.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I'm just 2 second thought. The only reason that I say that I think next year the Nuggets would beat the Timberwolves is Nuggets had a couple off court situations this year that I think affected them more than people think, and B, I think they didn't expect Minnesota to hit them that hard. So I think they're going to be
fair.
ready for that and prepared. They're a championship team. They know how to bounce back. So that's the only reason why I say that. But continue.
But yeah, no, I feel like they're the the Timberwolves are so, and that's one of the great things about being really loaded at one position. For example, the Bruins, mm, I would say their backup goalie is a top 10 goalie in the league. Their backup, i.e., we have two insanely elite goalies. And this offseason, it's very, very likely we're going to trade one of them in order to bring in some proven talent. So the Timberwolves, they're extremely tall. They're really good at doing all that shit. They can get rid of one of those guys and bring in an area where they don't maybe have as much depth as everyone else, and they can get some proven talent in doing so. Because it's not like oh, let's draft this guy. He looked good in college. It's no, we're not doing great from three. That guy's a good 3-point shooter. We'll give you this tall guy because your team's a bunch of small fuckers, and you can have this tall guy. I think that could really work in their favor. Or they could stick with what they have because it got them to the conference finals. And that's a decision I think you make at the trade deadline. And I think the Timberwolves put themselves in a great position here to continue to be a force in the West. But I do agree. It still feels, for whatever reason, like the Nuggets own the West. For whatever reason, it feels like that. And although we did have an off year this year, it's kind of like and I said this like when free agency opened up in football, everyone was saying it, but we were talking about it again today at work, and they were just talking like that's so crazy that like Derrick Henry signed with the Ravens and like like they're talking among themselves. I was doing my work in the back and I just all that to lose in the conference finals to the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Like at the end of the day, it's not how do we get a championship team here? That's a lot of it, but the other half of it is how do we beat the Nuggets? And
yes,
that's what they need
exactly.
to work
Well,
on as well.
exactly, but exactly, and they have that team because of all that size and everything. And I think why we still say that it's the Nuggets league is, or the Nuggets conference at least, is because I think deep down, and this is coming from someone who predicted the Mavs to get to the finals. I think deep down, we all look at this Mavericks team as good as they've been this playoffs and say the Nuggets would have beat this team in the Western Conference Finals. You know, so I mean, I don't know. I think that's why I think the Timberwolves are almost like designed to beat the Nuggets, and I think that
My
that's
boys.
just so. But yeah, but you know what I mean. Like I think we like. Do you agree that the Nuggets probably would have beat the Mavericks? I mean, I hate to play semantics, but I just matchup
I could
wise, I
see
think
it,
they would
yeah.
have beat the Mavericks. So
Yeah. But I also thought they would have beat the Timberwolves, so
fair.
even though Dennis the Great Predictor knew. But anyways, um, let's move on to what we want to talk about, which is the finals. Celtics versus the Mavericks. Kyrie versus Boston. Porzingis versus Memphis. I'm sorry, Dallas. I told you I always mix up the Mavericks and the damn Grizzlies in terms of personnel, and I don't know why because they couldn't be more different. But um, what do you think? What say you? Oh, let's
First
start
off,
here. Who do you want to win?
I'm really happy for Kyrie. Now, no, I do want to
This is
say
gonna be a
though,
great completion to his story.
I do want to say though, I've never ever seen the entire world go from hating a person to loving a person again like this before. And I'm totally here for it. Like, dude,
Dude,
people hate
I thought you were gonna
people.
say I thought you were gonna say like people switching up on the Celtics because going into the postseason, some people were like, "All right, do we even have to play the postseason? Just give the Celtics their banner." Blah blah. No, I haven't seen like anyone take them.
Hold on, right? Let me finish my thought because I'm getting somewhere here. For the better part of for the last 7 years, people have like hated Kyrie. Not even just Boston fans, like NBA, just people who don't even watch the league hated Kyrie. This
Right.
dude, just all he did, played good basketball and just stayed out of controversy. And this man is Jesus
Shut his
Christ.
mouth.
He's Jesus Christ in the flesh, and I love it. Like I love it for him. Like you know what? It's great. It's like now he's like the NBA went from trying to sue him and taking all his money. Now they can't stop posting him. It's like great, great for Kyrie. What I want to know is why the hell does everybody think? Not only do people think most people think the Mavericks are going to win this series, why do people think the Mavericks stand a chance? That's what I want to know. And I know you're going to get mad at me. I can see it in your eyes now that you're going to get mad at me, but I have valid reasoning. I don't know why people think this is going to be a competitive series. Honestly,
Like you last time we talked thought it was gonna be a competitive series.
with the Mavs, yes, yes. But wait, can I? Am I not allowed? Am I not allowed to go home, do research, really like take it all in, and then come with a different perspective? Am I not allowed to do that?
But you're saying you don't understand after going home and
Oh,
doing a bunch of research. Blah, blah. Not everyone's going home and doing the research.
okay,
So
fair,
explain to
fair.
people why they're crazy for believing in the Mavericks.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. I'm gonna say one. I'm gonna name you one series, right? 2022. This is literally the same thing obviously it's different because it's the first round versus the finals. 2022 first round when we played the Brooklyn Nets, right? Nobody thought that the Celtics had a chance against the Nets strictly off of KD and Kyrie, right? What did us as an organization do? We absolutely, KD still got his points, but we locked him up and we know how to guard Kyrie. Yes, two different teams, but plug and play, right? Drew Holiday for Marcus Smart, KP for Rob Wilt. Like, my thing is, like, everybody keeps saying, and I was, let me name you two things that I was scared of and I'm still scared of, right? The first thing is, if we keep these games close, I'm nervous because they have two of the most clutchest players the NBA has ever seen on with the Mavericks, with Luka and Kyrie. So I don't want to keep games close, but I don't think the games are necessarily going to be close. I think I'm losing my train of thought now. When we played, you remember the first round when we played the Nets, right? Like, sort of.
One.
In 2022 when we played the Nets in the first round.
Yeah, of course.
Like, when we swept them, like, it really wasn't close most of those games. I'm gonna
It was game one. Game one, that crazy Tatum layup.
Yes, the game winner. You're correct. You're correct in that. But, like, I guess my theory is my thing is, like, I don't know, like, everybody's like, oh, I don't think that I'm not pulling out the broom. I'm not doing all that, but
We're talking about the Nets, not the
oh,
Mavericks.
I was like, all right. But I just don't understand. Like, again, I guess I
Hopefully this is
do.
a thumbnail. Hopefully this is a thumbnail.
But I think what we did in that series is basically what we're gonna replicate for this series. That's my prediction. And I think that Luka's gonna get his 30 a game. Everyone's like, oh, Luka this, Luka that. Like, yeah, Luka's gonna get his 30. Like, I can totally live with that. Like, we know how to guard Kyrie. PJ Washington, if he wants to have his 14 or 15 points, like, have at it. But then it's like, okay, like, what after that? What after that? Who's gonna guard us? I get it. They actually have a very good defensive team, but I just individually don't know who's guarding who. Like, I think we match up great against the Mavericks, and I think we are designed. I think our defense is designed to contain a Kyrie Irving and a Luka Doncic. So it's like, I think, like, I mean, most of my anger is directed at Nick Wright here because Nick Wright thinks that the Mavericks are going to win in 5 games, which I think is just like,
Rick Rome.
it's just like insane. I had the Celtics in 6, but I borderline could see 5, but I don't see this going more than 6. And honestly, like, if you really, really dig into the matchups and everything, like, I don't see a world where you could think that. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, how many years did Kyrie and LeBron beat the Celtics to get to the Warriors in the final? 1 or 2?
Well, 3 times, 3 out of 4 times. But the first time it was the only player that was on that team that was Marcus Smart. And then in 17, the only players you knew on that team were Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown. And then 18, well, actually, no,
Oh.
18, Kyrie was on the Celtics. So twice, sorry.
Well, I really wish I had a clown point to say here, but I don't because I just found this. Well, I'm gonna combat you with something my friend told me about, I don't know, a while ago, and that friend was you.
Okay.
Was Kyrie not at his worst on the Nets? So sure, we were able to. You
No,
told you.
no, 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 no. When he
Okay,
played,
let's hear it.
let me just say this. When he played, he still played at the same level that he is now. It just wasn't as consistent. Because of the injuries and the controversy and stuff. But when he played and he was there and active in those games, you could look up the numbers, you could look up whatever. He was the exact same player that he is now.
All right. Then there goes my there goes my because you said because I remember you told me it was like during the second round you said you were glad that I was able to see Kyrie perform like the way that you grew up watching him perform. So that's where that came from. I figured all right, so when he went to the Nets, that just wasn't that. So, I mean, and this is what I said this is what I said today to everyone. No, you're absolute. I mean, it's not only a difference in the players for the subbing in the different players and shit. It's also a difference in the coaching because they were trying to. Because what was the discussion in the office today? It was that we allowed the role players to get too much space in the Warriors series. We allowed Jordan Poole to do way too much. We allowed people who weren't named Draymond, Clay, and Steph to do too much.
Well,
And
Jordan
I was
Jordan
like,
Poole Jordan Poole was the key factor in that championship for sure. Like I do think that.
exactly, and that's why
Obviously Steph was, but like you know what I mean. Like
yeah, and that's why people are saying, you know, the way PJ Washington has been playing, he could play that Jordan Poole role if the series was to go in a similar fashion. It's especially with the outside shooting. He has been spectacular for the Mavericks and a great third option. Where if we get up on Kyrie, if we get up on Luka, you always Washington's out there, and then at the same time, we need Porzingis to be 100%. The lobs
yes.
in all these series have been unbelievable. Whether it's Lively, whether it's Gafford, whether it's Luka, they're lobbing it, and no one's been able to stop them. Even the giant ass Timberwolves. Um, we need and we don't have the size to compete with that in terms of numbers. However, the one number that we have, the one that we have, is Porzingis. And if you could select anyone that they've faced so far, I'd say to not allow that to happen, other than I guess Gobert because he was DPOY, I would go with Porzingis.
I
So
agree.
we need
I
Zingis
agree.
to be absolutely healthy now more than ever. We can't have him out there on a leg and a half. He's got to be out there fully. Um, we need our role players to show up. That means Derek White. You can't have your sub 10-point nights. We don't expect 30 from you, but we expect at least 10 to 15 every night.
I actually think that Derek White's offense is going to suffer a lot during this series, but I think because the brunt of it is because we're going to need him on the defensive end along with Drew Holiday. But continue.
I mean, right, and then feed Tatum and Brown on the okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look,
I
look,
mean that's
look,
why
look, look, look. This, whether we like it or not, right? This is going offensively. This has to come down to Jason Tatum.
well,
It just has to.
the Jays, the Jays. I will
Ah, yeah.
concede at the Jays.
Tatum needs to be
Hey,
extra. Tatum needs to be.
ECF MVP, okay?
Tatum needs to be who Tatum need. Who Tatum needs to be who Tatum is capable of being.
That's why I didn't say Brown. That's why I said the Jays. Both of them.
I was like, I was really confused there for a second.
I don't know why. It needs to come down to both of their offensive presences being on an elite status. At the end of the day, I don't know. I don't care who you think is better. Luka has had the better playoffs.
Luka's
He has
better.
had
Luka's the best player in this
okay,
series by
perfect.
far.
There you. I didn't want to say
No, by
Luka is the
far.
best
It's not
player
even
in this.
close.
So we need Tatum and Brown to counteract him and Kyrie. And I think a lot of it is going to be on the best duo. And like I said, the secondary party being like Washington, and then like the role players like Drew or Gafford and stuff like that. But I think it comes down to those sections, right? Where it's like, you got your duo here at the top. Who gets the check mark next to it, i.e., who was better during the series? Then it's all right. You got your 3-point shooters like White and friggin' or I'm sorry, your role players like White, Washington, Gafford, all that stuff. Or not Gafford, Lively. Who did best there? Then it's like, all right, defense. I think we get defense regardless. I
Oh
think our
yeah.
defense is going to blow theirs out of
Do
the
you
water
want?
regardless. All right. I was pretty much done with my point. That's why I was like, we're probably good, but no, if you got more to say to that.
No, you're right. We could probably end it here. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, but
Eight,
I guess
yeah.
I guess like it's a very I guess what I want to ask you is like, because I guess I have a couple questions for you. Like, have you noticed, and maybe it's different for you because you're in Boston, but like I guess just like on the media, just on social media and everything, like, have you noticed that like the Celtics are favorited, but a lot of people are taking the Mavericks? Because I have.
It's because it's because you're looking at the Celtics first seed, the Mavericks fourth seed. The Mavericks clearly an underdog in this sense. However, I
I think
think
they're the fifth. I think they're the fifth seed.
yes, fifth.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people are trying to like concede, and it is true, is that they're not as much of an underdog as you would expect in the situation.
No.
Like when the playoffs, even when they started, the Mavericks have proven even when they started, if it was Celtics Mavericks finals, I think people would have seen the Mavericks as a much bigger underdog than back then. So I think we got what we expected out of the Celtics in this postseason, where it's like, you didn't have to deal with the big boys of any of the teams you really faced, and you only lost a couple, and you made it to the finals. Everyone expected you to
Yeah.
do that. I mean, you called the Mavericks making the finals, but let's be realistic. You wouldn't have been surprised. It could have easily been the Nuggets. You wouldn't have been surprised had it been the Timberwolves. I don't think would have been surprised had it if the Timberwolves knocked off the Nuggets had the Clippers beat them. I just feel like there was an open road for the Celtics and quite a few contenders out there in the West, and the Mavericks really played well against them. And I
Yeah.
think that where like the chances to win the chip will have always been like up here for the Celtics. And for the Mavericks, the playoffs started like right here. So, but then they like rose where the Celtics stayed the same the whole time. So as we saw the Mavericks exceed expectations, seeing people exceed expectations or teams exceed expectations makes people overhype them or overreact to their performances. The Celtics are doing exactly what we expected, but the Mavericks are doing better in exceeding these expectations. So people are naturally going to be like, oh man, like they're on a roll. They could beat the Celtics, even though they don't understand that the Celtics, they call the Mavericks on a roll when the Celtics have won 7 straight.
I think that the Mavericks, I think people think the Mavericks are going to win because they're comparing it more so to like Luka versus Tatum. And like I said to
Yeah,
you
that too.
before, like,
That
like I
too.
said, like I said to you before, like I think that like, and again, I know there's some delusional Celtic fans out there, but like in our right minds, like I don't think any like you could argue that Tatum has the more consistent and better resume, but like let's be realistic here. Tatum's not better than Luka. Like Luka's a top 3 player in the NBA. Tatum's a top 5. Like like Luka's in that. It's really like the Luka, Jokic, and Giannis is like that three. I feel like that's like not moving, and like
Right.
everybody else is kind of like there's like 10 other people fighting for the top 5 position. And I think Tatum falls in those people falling for the top 5 position. But it's
Sixers
like, but but
Sixers fans are punching the air right now.
well, I'll tell you what, Joel Embiid, he has the capability of, but he just doesn't have the durability. But he,
Big words.
but the Celtics, the thing that I dislike is that yes, we had an easy path, but why do people for about a month now we have been missing a guy who averages 20 plus points a game for us. And no one is mentioning that. Like, why is nobody mentioning that? That is a huge piece that everybody just fails to realize. They're like, okay, yeah, well,
Because it doesn't fuel their narrative.
no, I know,
That's
I know, I
why.
know, I know, but this is kind of like this is the picture I'm painting, right? So it's like, and then another narrative. This is the other narrative is that, oh, the Celtics cakewalk to the finals. You're right. But people act like the Celtics haven't been playing all of these teams for 82 games this year. Yeah, the playoffs was easy for us, but we went 64-18 for a reason. Like we beat all these teams for a reason. Like we're not just a team who beats up on bad teams. If anything, we're the complete opposite. And it seems like people forget just how much better we play when we're playing against a good team. It genuinely seems like people forget that. And so it just there's a lot of things. And again, like you're absolutely right. Like from surface level, like I guess I can understand why people think this is going to be a good series. I will never. As someone Nick Wright, as smart as he is, he should never be allowed on TV again after this series. But like I don't know, man. I just think that it's like people really just I don't even know if it's like they hate the Celtics, but I do understand to an extent because it's like, we have gotten so close all these years and never got the job done. So I understand people being like, oh, well, what makes us think that anything different is going to happen now, But it's like, no, this is actually a new team. It's a completely different roster, But I guess we've been saying this all year long. I mean, how many times have you seen me and Dennis say in the group chat? Like I would always say, like, the only thing that Tatum can do to prove everybody wrong, the only thing we can do to prove everybody wrong is to win a championship. We just have to win. We have to win. We're going to have to eat this and just win 4 more games. And then from there on out, say whatever, we're champions. So, I mean, that's literally the only thing left for us to do.
And for Horford.
Yes, and for Horford. So we can finally retire.
This fucking dumbass was on the Hawks all these years thinking he was gonna win a chip.
No, he was on some good Hawks teams. He was on some good Hawks teams.
I know, but it's still just fun to laugh at the Hawks. As a more recent fan, it's just fun to poke at. Just like the Spurs that have never done anything good. But yeah. Wembanyama's already the best Spur.
Yeah.
What a new guy. What a casual.
They only dominated for the last 25 years prior.
Have the Patriots always sucked?
Literally.
What was I gonna say?
That's actually a great comparison.
The last thing I was gonna ask you, how is this series returning to Dallas?
What do you mean?
In terms of games won? You know which one I'm giving Dallas.
Well, it's funny because I swear I'm not trying to be different, but I do think that if Dallas is going to take any game, it's going to be game 1. I do have this theory that like Porzingis comes out a little, shaky. Dallas has some momentum. Like honestly, the way I'm thinking about it is Dallas goes up 1-0 and we win 4 straight. That's literally how I'm foreseeing this. But I mean, obviously, I hope that doesn't happen.
That's a long break. That's a long time to sit on a TD Garden loss. It's 3 days, bro. 3 days.
I know. That's why he let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm praying that doesn't happen because I just can't. But then again, at the same time, like I'm still gonna be so nervous because like 2 years ago we were up 2-1 in the championship. Why'd I even say it? But like,
oh, it's not like you said that we stole game 1 on the road against the Warriors. Oh no, I said it. You what?
God, why'd you remind me? That makes it so much worse.
You brought up the other part of it.
Yeah, but that just makes it even worse now.
Yeah, no,
but no, but yeah, I really do. I think it's gonna be tied, but I think that the Mavs are going to take game 1. I guess I'm just so reluctant to say it because I just hope it doesn't happen, Yeah. But I do think the series will be tied going back to Dallas. But history has shown that in the last couple postseasons, we're actually a better road team. We're a much better road team. Our record on the road is better than our record at home in the postseason in the last couple of years.
Game 7 against the Heat and the Bucks was on the road, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not the Bucks. We were a 2 seed.
Okay, definitely.
But that game 6 though. But the game 6 when we were down 3-2 was at Milwaukee. But the Heat, because the Heat were the 1 seed. So we were the 2 seed. So yes, the Eastern Conference Finals of 22 was at Miami.
Yeah. All right. I think that concludes everything. This might be a little late up because now I have to edit it. But No, I'm just being an ass.
Well, you got till
Um,
Thursday. I
that's
mean, you got
fair. Yeah,
3 whole days.
I'll take my 3 days. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll probably be back for some of the games.
Oh
Just
yeah.
had to take a break. I did so much. It was a lot to keep up with doing the first and the second. Next year, if I do this again next year, I might just start the second round because the first round was a lot. It was four games a night in both leagues. So I was covering 8 freaking games. It was something, but you know, I'll probably make the same mistake because I'll be way too hyped for the playoffs again when like no, this time it's different. All right, I'll talk to you guys.